when being flexible is the greatest strength you can have. Sounds strange, right? After all, you've always been told that being strong means resisting, standing firm, never bending to anything. But what if I told you that this idea is one of the biggest traps you've ever believed in? The truth is, those who live trying to be unbreakable are usually the first to fall when life blows a little harder. It might sound controversial, but being too rigid has brought down more people than any storm ever could. And the worst part? Many don't even realize they're falling because they confuse stubbornness with courage and pride with strength. Meanwhile, those who know how to adapt, the ones humble enough to bend at the right time, are the ones still standing when the storm passes. Now, let me ask you this. How many times have you worn yourself out fighting situations that, deep down, just needed you to breathe and let the wind pass? Exactly. The problem was never the wind, but your stance against it. And today, I'm going to show you, with the help of an old Aesop's fable, how true strength lies in knowing when not to resist. If you want to stop feeling crushed by crises, learn how to get through tough times without breaking, and even discover the secret few people share about real resilience, stick with me until the end. Because what you're about to hear might change the way you face challenges, and maybe even the way you live. When being flexible is the greatest strength you can have. Now, think about it. How many times have you heard that being strong means holding firm, never bending, or resisting everything? Yeah, they sold us the idea that strength is all about rigidity. But no one told us that, in reality, those who try to be unshakable end up breaking with the first storm life throws at them. The old oak in Aesop's fable believed exactly that. Proud, he looked at the fragile reeds and laughed, "I stand firm, I never bend." And that's where the problem lies, this mindset of blind resistance. So many people live like this, refusing to change their mind, take a step back, or even ask for help because they think giving in is weakness. But is it really? Think about a couple's argument. How many times has "I'm right" mattered more than peace? Or that job where you insisted on staying just because you didn't want to quit, even knowing you were sinking? Being like the oak might look admirable from afar, but it's dangerous when the storm hits. And life, oh, it always brings unexpected winds. And here's where the big twist comes in. While the oak fell from resisting too much, the reeds stayed standing, precisely because they knew how to bend. But hold on, we'll get deeper into this thing called flexibility and why it's actually a hidden strength that few people truly understand. It's funny how so many people confuse flexibility with weakness, isn't it? As if yielding were a sign of defeat. But in reality, it takes more courage to bend at the right moment than to play tough all the time. The reeds in that Aesop fable knew this well. They didn't bow out of fear, but out of wisdom. They understood the secret wasn't fighting the wind, but dancing with it. Look at your daily life. When was the last time you took a deep breath and chose not to clash head-on with a situation? Whether it was a conflict at work, a tough conversation with a friend, or even that plan you had to postpone. Flexibility is about adjusting the route without losing sight of the destination. It's like changing a flat tire without stopping the journey, not abandoning the car just because the tire blew out. In fact, great leaders, the ones who truly inspire, aren't those who impose brute force, but those who know how to listen, rethink, and adjust their sails as the wind changes. Want a practical example? Instead of insisting on controlling everything, how about learning to negotiate better? Flexibility is also knowing when to say, "Let's find a middle ground," instead of, "It's my way or no way." And this skill, my friend, doesn't come overnight. It's a daily exercise in ego, patience, and long-term vision. But don't worry, we're still going to talk about the biggest enemy of flexibility, that old familiar voice called pride, and how it can be the root of many silent downfalls. But pride? That sneaky companion whispering in your ear, "Don't give in, you're right." That's exactly the whisper that brought down the oak in Aesop's fable. It didn't fall because it lacked strength, but because it refused to admit that sometimes bowing your head is about survival, not weakness. And in real life? How many times has pride made you carry unnecessary burdens? You know that argument that could have ended with a simple, "I'm sorry"? Or that project where you didn't ask for help just so you wouldn't seem incapable? Exactly. Pride wears the mask of strength, but deep down, it's just fear in disguise. fear of appearing vulnerable. The problem is, those who let pride lead would rather break than bend. And guess what? Life's storms don't forgive that kind of stubbornness. In professional settings, for example, how many people have you seen miss opportunities because they wouldn't accept feedback? Or in relationships, where proud silence mattered more than a gesture of reconciliation. Pride builds walls where there should be bridges. It stops movement, and as we've already seen, if you don't move, you break. But hey, recognizing this isn't easy. It takes looking inward and admitting that, yes, we've all been that oak more times than we'd like to admit. The good news? You can always change. Speaking of change, have you ever noticed how the biggest falls happen when you least expect them? That's the thing about pride. It blinds you, and life loves to catch those off guard who don't know how to adapt. Here's the truth. No one gets a warning that says, hey, tomorrow a storm is coming your way, get ready. Challenges just arrive, whether it's an unexpected layoff, a relationship crisis, or a health issue. That's exactly what caught the oak by surprise in Aesop's fable. It stood there, firm and confident, until the wind revealed who was truly prepared to endure. So, here's the question. Have you been like the oak, relying only on strength, or like the reeds, adapting as the wind changes? Because, in reality, those who survive the storms aren't the strongest. They're the most flexible. The ones who understand that changing plans, stepping aside, or even retreating is part of the game. Like a river that flows around a rock instead of trying to break through it. Want a real-life example? When the pandemic hit, many people crumbled because they insisted on sticking to the old way of working. Meanwhile, others reinvented themselves. They learned new skills, moved into digital spaces, and found creative solutions. These were the real-life reads. They understood that resistance without adaptation is a recipe for ruin. And the most interesting thing is that, after the storm passes, those who knew how to bend come back stronger, more experienced, and much better prepared for the next gust of wind. Because, spoiler alert, there's always a next one. That's where the importance of cultivating this quiet strength comes in. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, it just stays standing when everything calms down. But before we dive into this discreet and powerful force, think about it. Are you ready to let the wind pass through you, or are you still trying to face it head-on? Funny how true strength, the kind that really matters, almost never makes noise. The reeds in Aesop's fable didn't need to shout or prove anything to the oak. They simply did what they knew best, bend at the right moment and wait for the wind to pass. And when it was all over, guess who was still standing, firm, even after bending so much? That's the kind of strength few people value. The ability to endure, to be patient, to know that not every battle is won by fighting. Sometimes, victory comes to those who know how to wait. In today's world, where everything is urgent, being patient has become almost a superpower. While some exhaust themselves resisting every breeze life throws at them, others take a deep breath and let the storm run its course. Think about the people you admire. They're not the ones constantly at war, but those who, even in tough times, maintain an almost enviable calm. They know fighting the wind is pointless. They choose to save their energy for when the right moment comes. Want a practical example? Instead of reacting impulsively to criticism, choose to observe, reflect, and respond with maturity. That's what it means to be like the reed. And the best part? This quiet strength doesn't need applause. It proves itself over time. Because in the end, those who understand the value of adapting, waiting, and not letting ego take control will always be standing after the storm. But, is that all? Or is there a way to apply this knowledge and transform how you face challenges from now on? So, tell me, how many storms have you faced trying to be the oak? How many times did pride speak louder, and you realized, too late, that all you needed was a bit more flexibility to avoid the fall? The big question is, will you keep resisting everything until you break, or will you finally learn the art of bending when necessary? Think carefully, where in your life today are you being too rigid? Is it at work, in your relationships, or with your own expectations? What's stopping you from adapting, changing course, and letting the wind pass without fighting it? Because the truth is simple. If you don't learn to be like the reed, sooner or later, you'll be knocked down like the old oak. Now, I want to hear from you. In what area of your life do you need to start practicing this quiet strength of flexibility? Drop a comment below. Your experience might help someone else too. And don't just listen to these words and go back to life as usual. Apply this today in the little things. Start saying it's okay where you used to stand your ground. Try yielding and see how it can actually make you stronger. Oh, and if this kind of reflection resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we're always bringing content that goes beyond the obvious, because learning to live better is a constant journey. And I'll see you in the next video so we can keep growing together.